All right, guys, welcome to Swim Essentials, the online portion of the course. Swimming is a very complex topic and there's so many moving parts. And a lot of times we get lost when you come to class. If you're just coming to my weekly classes, you can only learn so much in the moment. So I created Swim Essentials and have been doing it once a year, where we're in the pool for that extended period of time on Saturday and then in the open water the following week. And it's necessary to break it up because there's just so many moving parts, right? So this is Mr. Swim Smooth. And as a part of the program, you'll get a link to him, or you can download him yourself. You can have him on your phone or on your computer. But, it's a great computerized version of how to swim. And we're not going to get too deep into everything today. We're going to focus on the first three things, because that's literally the most important thing to have in place before you start doing everything, right? Yes, getting comfortable in the water is super duper important, but breathing is the number one thing. So making sure that you're blowing your bubbles out of your nose the entire time you are swimming is so important to help you remain calm in the water. And we are land mammals, so we do have some programming to overcome if there was ever any trauma in the water. If you ever got thrown in, by your dad, that's what happened to me. My dad threw me in with one of those styrofoam bubbles on the back of my back that cinched around your waist. And I was literally stuck face down until my mom rescued me from drowning, right? So I had trauma in the water. And so, sure, I knew how to swim, but I did have to overcome a little bit of panic, right, that I felt when I would be in the open water. So breathing is number one. So it starts with just practicing blowing bubbles out of your nose. We're going to do that at practice and make sure everybody is doing that, because it's just one of those things that you have to reprogram, especially if you're blowing bubbles out of your mouth. You want to switch to the nose. And don't get me wrong, there will be times when you have to spit water out of your mouth, as Eric just told me. So, breathing, you got to get comfortable with it. In the training that you're going to be receiving also, we do practice breathing and only taking a breath every 3 strokes, every 5 strokes, every 7 strokes. And that's really important to also practice that in the open water. But Mr. Swim Smooth here, he breathes every 3 strokes, right? I don't recommend that for triathletes. If it's just open water, okay, fine. Or just swimming in the pool, that's fine too, because you don't have to worry about biking or running after. But if you are a triathlete, or even as a swimmer that's learning, I do recommend breathing every right or every left. So it'd be breathe, every time to the same side, and then switch after each lap, or, after each 100 or whatever you want to do. But get really good at breathing all the time, right? So the more often you breathe and you're still able to hold your speed, your breathing position is good. And notice when Mr. Swim Smooth turns his head to the side to breathe, he does have his head down. Now it's a little deceiving because he is kind of looking forward. And for me, I want you guys to look straight down. But in this image, he's got one goggle completely underwater. And that is possible for everybody. Okay. The reason he's allowed to get one goggle under the water is because with his momentum, he's creating a bow wave right here. Hey, Christine. He's creating a bow wave right here. And it creates a little trough right here where you're opening your mouth to breathe. And this is probably the most common thing that swimmers don't have right, because they do not get on their side enough, which we're going to get to in a minute. And so they're flat in the water and they really can't get their head in the right position because you're not on your side. So then you have to lift your head to breathe. And what happens is the top of your head is higher. So then you turn your head to breathe and your mouth is still underwater. So then you lift your head even higher, right? So it's kind of like this catch-22, right? So first we got to make sure you're bubble breathing out of your nose with every time you're putting your face in the water. And then you've got to make sure you're practicing getting on your side enough, which we'll get to in the balance piece of it, so that you can not have to lift your head to breathe. Because believe it or not, your head can become the reason you're dragging through the water. When your head is up, your hips are down. Okay. So breathing is so important, be able to breathe. And also you want to be able to lift your head and look straight forward as a triathlete to be able to sight for the buoys. So you have to get strong enough with your neck and back muscles to be able to look forward as you're sighting, which we're also going to practice in the open water section of Swim Essentials. So any questions about breathing itself? So we talked about bubble breathing through the nose. Any questions of you guys who are here? Yeah.
In a pool, no. The open water is so much more different.
Yes, definitely.
Including the one goggle in the water and one goggle out. A lot harder. Today in the ocean, my breathing, I got my heart rate up too fast because I couldn't calm down with my breathing. And I noticed it was my breathing that was bothering me, nothing really else.
Right. So that's a really good point, because when we go into the open water, our brain freaks out. There's so much external stimulation than just you swimming. So that's why it's so imperative to get a warm up in right before your workout, to even on land, right? To get your warm up in on land, to get your heart rate up and then recover from it. Do the breath work that we did at camp, to really open up the lungs. That is so key. I mean, you're not alone. I freak out in the water. If I have to just jump in and swim, I have that feeling, right? And it's your land mammal is going, what the fuck are you doing? Excuse my French. And you've got to reprogram it. And the best way to prevent that panicky feeling is the warm up on land and the breath work on land before you get in. But that's actually very normal. And the more you swim in the open water, Eric, because you are doing Escape from Alcatraz, you're going to jump in to 1,000-foot water from a barge or, a ferry, and you're going to be packed in there like sardines and sweating. And then you're going to jump in and it's going to be 50-degree water, and it will be very, very shocking. And you will feel exactly the way you felt today. So the more that you can actually practice that feeling, and we actually do that in the open water section, we actually have you guys get a hypoxic and kind of get a little freaked out. Don't worry, you can stand up in the water that we're training in. But we have you get a little panicky to then train yourself how to recover. Roll over on your back to breathe, do the breaststroke, make sure you're blowing your bubbles, right? Because you want to practice that situation so that if it happens, okay, I know what I need to do. Even the best swimmer in the world, got to plug in my computer. Even the best swimmer in the world can still have a panic attack if they don't warm up correctly, or the water's too cold, or their wetsuit isn't or is too tight, right? So there's all these limiting factors. Ollie, do you mind plugging in the computer? Because I have it here. Thanks. Cool. It's already plugged into the extension cord. Okay, so that's really good observation, Eric. And we're going to keep training that. We've got time before your race. So we're going to keep training the freak out and the recovery, and then you won't have it. Make sense? I think you heard me. Okay. Anything else, Christine? Any questions about breathing? No? I don't know if she can tell you. All right. So breathing, the second thing is balance. So notice Mr. Swim Smooth is very balanced in the water, meaning his head is up a little bit, but it's really pretty down in the water compared to many of the swimmers that I see. And we can take a look at him from the top, and you can see how balanced he is, meaning his butt cheeks are breaking the surface of every single stroke cycle he has, right? And you can test this yourself. As you're swimming, you want to feel your hips breaking the surface. And I will tell you, this is also just a big drag. So people do not have their hips up, right? And notice he's not bending at his waist to get his butt up. He's not like sticking his butt up to make it go up. Your body acts like kind of like a seesaw. And when you press the front end down, your hips and your feet will pop to the surface, but you still have to lift your heels up to the surface to get the kick going. And the kick is what we're going to go over next. So just want you to notice in the picture, each time he rotates, you can see his trunks, his swim trunks break the surface of the water. You need to be feeling that too. And then also your ankles, his ankles are gently breaking the surface of the water, and he's creating like a little gentle boil from the hips. Okay. And we're going to get into the kick in a minute, but the only way to actually get this balance is to practice the floating drills that we'll be doing at camp. Because sometimes you're not even aware, this is what happens when I lift my head. My hips literally drop, right? So if I can lift my head as little as possible and get on my side more, then I don't have to worry about my hips dropping every time I breathe, right? So we're going to be doing a lot of kicking on the side drill and balance drills on your belly, on your back, and on your side. So you get used to this feeling. It's different because your lungs are filled with oxygen and you literally have to push down on the water, which goes against your intuition because your brain thinks air is up. But actually, when you push down on the water, you get more balance in the water, and then you want to get on your side to get the air so that you resist the lifting and dropping, lifting and dropping. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Any questions about the balance?
Again, more related to open water. And I don't know if you'll get to this actually in down in a few minutes, but the current was so strong today, I was barely moving, and I remembered what you said about the fastest position being on your side. And I was very pronounced on my side, maybe a little too exaggerated. I don't know if that's appropriate.
Yes, it actually is. So when it's really, really wavy, you want to do catch-up drill. Okay, so you're literally stopping with one arm overhead and you're not dropping that arm, your straight arm, you're not dropping it until the other arm catches up to it, because it makes the boat, your body, more stable, right? And most likely what was happening is you were going to breathe and you were dropping your arm as opposed to leaving it out there, right? As long as possible. There's a cool thing that happens in the open water. Now, everything is the same in the open water. There's no difference. You still put your head down just as low. The difference is there is a timing issue when you're in the waves. And that's why it's so important to constantly be getting in the open water, because you can feel the rhythm of the waves coming. Okay. And the idea is to take the breath when there's a trough, right? So you breathe, the wave goes over you, right? You can even breathe towards the waves if you time it correctly. I was in a race where I was breathing away from the waves because I was thinking, oh, they're going to splash in my face. But what would happen is my timing was off. So I'd breathe and the wave went over my head in my mouth. So I had to switch and actually breathe towards the wave so that I could time it right to get just the pocket of air that I needed before it crashed over me. And, you don't know what direction the waves are going to be hitting you. Are they going to come head on or diagonal? But the balance has to stay the same. And I know it's very counterintuitive because you want to lift your head higher and higher, but it's actually down, down, down. The more you press your head and chest down, the better your balance. And then you got to transition your stroke, which we haven't gotten to yet. And we're not going to do much stroke stuff today. We're going to wait till next week. Making sure you're staying as long as possible. So this is your sweetest spot with your hand out front. And you literally want to keep it there until this recovering arm is almost touching the water when it's super wavy. So that's how you would modify your stroke. You wouldn't modify your head position or your body position, but you would modify the stroke so that you're almost doing catch up, which is what we do with the stick. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, so those are important things. And again, just got to practice. Everything I'm going to teach you, if I said, okay, if I took a video of you and said, okay, these are all the things you're doing wrong, and I told you how to fix them, you couldn't do it. It's just one of those things you have to practice each individual part step by step by step. So that's why we're having the class together. We're going to practice the breathing. We're going to practice the breathing up and down. We're going to practice the breathing on your side. We're going to practice getting the breath, on your side face down. So it's a progression. Then we're going to practice the balance, balance on your belly, balance on your back, balance on your side. And you have to practice it and practice it and practice it. And then we're going to get to the kick. So let's move on to that if nobody has any more questions about the balance. So the kick, notice his kick. Now, unfortunately, not many of us look this good kicking, have this floppy of an angle of an ankle. Right. So you can see how floppy his ankle is. A lot of people, have really tight ankles. So their feet are more flexed and they are actually creating drag in the water. But notice how little his knees are bending. They are bending, but very, very little. All the movement is coming from the hips. Okay. And unfortunately, we sit a lot as a society and we're in the car, we're in front of the desk, et cetera, and our hips are extremely tight. So we don't even have access to these muscles because we don't do anything with straight legs like this. We run, we walk, we bike, all in a bent knee hip angle. And so we're not strong here, right? So the stretching component of the class, which we're going to go through, and the strength component of the class, the dry land stuff, is actually what's going to help you access the correct muscles to kick properly from the hips. And the cool thing is by doing the mobility work, the stretching on land, and the strength work on land, that could be the thing that fixes your kick, not actually kicking, kicking more in the water. Now, another tool we do use is fins. So I do recommend everybody who's coming to class, if you're watching this recording, before you come, you need a pair of fins. The Z2 fins will include the link to the Swim Outlet store, but it's swimoutlet.com/full circle. And that's a list of all the equipment that I recommend you guys get. But the Z2 fins in your size are perfect. They're not too long. They're not too short. You're going to lose them the entire length of your swim career. The ones I don't recommend are the super short ones, unless you're Michael Phelps and he's retired. So the super short fins do not help you enough. And you really want your fins to help you get stronger. And by making your foot longer, it kind of forces the issue with the hips and the quads and the hamstrings and glutes to do the work. Believe it or not, you have an up kick. So that leg is going up. You're pushing the water up, and then it's pushing down. And most people have the up one, which is back. If you had your body vertical, it would be the back, because that's how we walk, right? Most people have this one, but they don't have the follow through down in the water. And we're going to teach you how to do that by kicking on your back and practicing that follow through to the surface, and also kicking on your side and making sure you're coming past your body line. So a good angle of Mr. Swim Smooth's kick, it's a 6-beat kick. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So he kicks 3 times, if you count each leg as 1 per arm. So right arm is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This kind of ensures you're kicking the whole time. I'm sure many of you have heard the myth about not kicking, but you really can't swim if you don't kick. You can use your kick as balance, and then you can also use it for speed. And if you're an endurance athlete, you need to use it for balance more than anything else. But if you don't kick at all, you're going to be dragging your legs through the water. Okay. So that's pretty much all we're going to cover today. The next class, we're going to review the entire stroke cycle. I'm going to share one more thing with you guys, the 8 principles of swimming. And this is all going to be part of your program. Let's see if I can find it in my millions of open things. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's here. Nope. All right. Well, I will be sending that link out. I opened it before we got here, but I guess I can't find it. Where? Oh, no, it's here in the PowerPoint. Yeah, I think I remember. Okay, cool. Here it is. Got it. Okay, share screen, slideshow from the beginning. Okay, cool. Here they are. The 8 concepts of freestyle swimming. So there's more than 8. Let's just be clear. But swimming, like I said, is pretty complicated. So breathing, we already talked about, right? The more you can practice that style of breathing, which is completely foreign, unless you've done yoga, you're not doing much nasal breathing on a regular basis. And most breath work sessions, you're exhaling through your mouth as opposed to your nose. So on a daily basis, even starting right now, let's go ahead and practice inhaling through your mouth and exhaling through your nose. Inhale mouth, exhale nose. If you need to blow your nose, go for it. I have something's coming out. So inhale mouth, exhale nose. And it's about a 1 second inhale. Just relax, not hyperventilating, and a 3 second exhale. It's about 3 seconds for your stroke cycle to go through its round. Okay, so inhale mouth, exhale nose. If you can't quite get it, you can also hum on the exhale, and the bubbles will come out of your nose. So inhale mouth, right? It kind of forces the issue of the bubbles coming out of your nose. So I want you to practice that on land and in the water. If you are signed up for the entire program, you do get workouts. So if you're only signed up for open water, you're not getting the pool section of the training. You can still do that if you want to. but it is ideal. I know some of you guys are out of town and you can't make it on Saturday, but you do get the benefit of the workouts for there. And you all are invited to the Wednesday morning swim at Ransom at 5 a.m. and then Friday at 7:30 in the open water. Okay, so the second concept is the streamline spear. So we talked about the streamline with Mr. Swim Smooth, but you always want to remind yourself of that streamline off the wall in every pool workout you do. And so how do you know you're being accountable to your streamline? You want to practice, right? You're going to push yourself off the wall in your streamline. And go ahead and check what you look like in your streamline, because you might not be as straight as you think. A lot of people, this is what they think their streamline is, and it's actually not streamlined. That your elbows are a lot of drag. So ideally, you want your biceps to touch right behind your ears, and you're looking just neutral. Your head is neutral, and you're nice and tall in the water or standing on land. And then when you're in the water, you're horizontal. And we're going to test your streamline at the pool. We're going to see how far can you go in your streamline. And the goal is to work on that through the stretching, right? And through just the awareness of that streamline. But remember, we're trying to fit through the smallest hole in the water. So if you have drag from bent elbows and bent knees and even a bent hip, or a hip angle because you have a sway back or your hips are too tight, that's all drag, right? So the better your streamline on land, the better your streamline in the water. So we're going to practice your streamline on land, on your side, on your belly, and on your back. And work on our kick from there. So head position, remember, we want to be looking neutral. So you're just looking straight down. And then when you get on your side, it's just one goggle out of the water. You're not lifting your chin out. You're not lifting your head. There should be no arch in the back of your neck. It's just neutral, looking straight down and turning your head to breathe with one goggle out of the water. And we're going to practice that so that you can feel what it's supposed to feel like while your feet are on the floor and you're practicing that perfect head position. Then we'll practice it while we're kicking with a kickboard, and then we'll practice it while we're swimming. Okay, so I don't know what it's like stuck. There's more, it's spinning. My internet has been so bad today. Don't know why. All right, let's go. Now my computer's frozen. Wow. All right, can't remember let's go hand position. Here it is. Let's see. All right, from current slide. Here we go. Let's see if we can get it to go. No, it's not going. See if we can get it to pop up. Hand position. Okay, so excuse my background, but you can read the hand position. So your hand in freestyle swimming should never be in any other position but straight down or straight back. There's no thumb up or thumb down ever in the entire swim stroke. So you enter, you reach, you catch, you finish, and then you repeat the whole cycle. So I'll be able to show you better in person. But your hand position is so important because otherwise you're not using your hand like a paddle. A lot of people have their wrists flexed and they go like this when they enter the water and they wonder why they're so slow, right? You're literally stopping yourself. So your hand position is either flat to the water, angled slightly down, angled straight back, or recovering back to the start. So check your hand position, watch your hand position in the water as you're swimming, breathe to the right, breathe to the left, and actually watch your hand, see what it's doing. So no problem, Christine. You can watch it later, no problem. Okay, body length, stay long and tall. So the cool thing about the streamline and all the things that we're working on is the longer you are, the faster you go. So at all times, we talked about Mr. Swim Smooth when he's on his side and he's got his arm reached over his head, he's like 7 feet tall in that picture, right? So we want to, no matter how tall you are, you really want to maintain that length as much as you can in the water to the point where you're almost doing catch up, but not quite. And if you don't know what catch up means, is one arm is out front and then the other arm stops next to it before you take the pull. So the timing is a little bit different in normal freestyle, just like we watched on Mr. Swim Smooth, but you want to stay as long as you possibly can the entire time. And then don't forget to reach, that helps you stay long, and then finish your stroke. And that kind of goes back to the hand position because so many people, I had a email about it this week. Do you pull out too soon? Meaning, do you pull your hand out of the water too soon and not push the water all the way down towards your feet? you know, every single stroke? Are you missing water because you're pulling your arm out too soon to take the next stroke? You want to make sure you're focused on your reach and your finish of every single stroke cycle. And then in between, it's a high elbow catch and a high elbow finish. And I will be referring to the clock. Next week, we're going to get more into the stroke mechanics on Friday at 12. We're going to review the entry, the reach, the catch, the finish, and the recovery. But the clock image is important. So your head is 12, your feet are 6, right next to each other. Your right arm is always reaching for 1 o'clock. Your left arm is always reaching for 11. And you finish at 5 and 7, respectively, right? So that can kind of help you see where you are in space and time on your belly, on your side. It doesn't change even when you're on your side. You're still reaching out from that position, and a Y position is really ideal because your legs are right near each other, right? But your hands are reaching 11 and 1, and they finish at 5 and 7. All right, so that is it for today. Do you guys have any questions? I know, let's go back. We can go back to Mr. Swimsmith if you want. Any questions? I know it's a complex topic, but you're signed up and you're in the right place if you want to improve your swimming. That's what we're here for, right? Eric, you good?
Super good. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, and I'm super psyched because you've already been in the water for a couple of weeks now and you've already shown like massive improvements, but we do want to get your swim test before you come to class next Saturday. Everybody needs to do their 400 test. So you can do it at Ransom on Wednesday next week or on your own, but it's a 400 test for time. You want to do a 500 warm up, and you can do some pickups like fast 24 times 50, 25 fast, 25 easy, along with, you know, some drills and some kicking, whatever you want to do, 500 minimum warm up. And then you want to swim 400 for time. And I want to know that time. Okay. And then you're going to rest 10 whole minutes and you're going to do a 200 for time. Okay. And so when you're done, you can save those numbers. If we're already connected via Training Peaks, I can create your training zones based on those numbers. And they're also a baseline from now. And I would love for you to retest after taking the whole program. And of course, practicing for a few weeks, I would love for you to retest the 400 and the 200 the same exact way. Try to make everything as similar as possible, like what you had for breakfast, the time of the test, the same pool if you can, and see how you improve, because the improvement is very motivating. The amount of effort you're putting in to become a better swimmer shows up in the testing when you retest, right? So it's very empowering to know that all the hard work you're doing is giving you a result, and it's kind of a little bit of a hit of a dopamine hit, and it rewards you, so you want to do it more, right? But honestly, you're never going to stop improving your swim. I mean, I've been swimming for 26 years. I'm always trying to improve, always. You know, even the best swimmers in the world are always looking at ways to improve their swim, because we're human and we're in the water, and every movement can be different. It can be perfected, right? All right, guys, that is it for me today. Any final questions?
I did do a swim test at camp, but I definitely could do another one this week. Not a problem.
No, we're good then. If you already did it, but I know Christine hasn't done hers. And if anyone else is listening and watching this, which I hope you will, but I know David did his. We got a couple more people that are signed up that definitely need to do their test. So we can use your numbers. We've got your baseline. So it's perfect. And we'll test again, like right before your June race. So it'll be perfect. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Great job, Eric. Super proud of you.
Have a great day.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a good one. I will be here again next Friday to go over the stroke mechanics portion of the course. And then I'll see you guys on Saturday. Bye.